Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori if you're new here, and today we are getting started. We are setting up for our yard sale. We saw some rain in the forecast, and I wanted to give a big shout out to the brand COBIZI for sponsoring today's video. They sent over this 10 by 20 canopy tent, and we absolutely love it. I'm so excited to share this product with you and share that the link and everything you may need for this product is in the description box along with a discount. This is an incredible offer. I feel like everyone could use one of these tents. I'm excited to use it for other things like a roadside farm stand in our new homestead and so many different activities under this tent. It is relatively easy to set up. It only took 2 of us, but the suggestion is to have 4. The size specs are going to be 10 by 20, and it does come with some decorative options. So that did take a little bit of time to work together with 3 kids running around and a very inquisitive neighbor, but it does have these sidewalls that I am putting up, and I feel like that could be used for a variety of purposes here, but we did want to allow some wind to work around this canopy just because it was so warm. So we did not put the back paneling on, but you could do that as well. And then it does have 2 front panels that make it look a little bit more elevated, so for fancier events. Let's go over some specs. Again, this is a 10 by 20 pop-up canopy. It's made of commercial grade full truss construction and coated upgrade hexagon shaped legs. It is more stable than a square pipe. It's durable, is rust proof, and then the sizing is going to be 1.77 inches in diameter and 0.03 inches in thickness. It's stronger than most pop-up canopies on the market. And the structure itself holds up to 220 pounds on a single pole and can withstand up to level 5 winds, so 28 to 38 miles per hour. It has 4 sandbags, ropes, stakes, and it increases the stability of the outdoor canopy in the event that you may need it. So the heavy-duty canopy tent is made up of 2x2 PVC Oxford fabric, so it is waterproof, and there's 2 layers of PU coating. So the UPF is 50 plus. It blocks 99% of the sun's rays. It's 100% waterproof, and its 6 PA coated removable sidewalls are connected by a whole strip of Velcro to the frame at the top, and I love that. It was so easy to install. The pop-up tent can be quickly set up and taken down in minutes by 2 to 3 people, but 2 of us with no tools required can easily accommodate this into even a daily routine. So this can hold about 15 to 20 people in there, and it can adjust to 3 different heights. So 118 inches, 122 inches, and 126 inches with the upgraded thumb button on the sides. Upgraded thumb latch system is easy to lock and release to prevent pinched fingers, which is big for us. It's really great to move around and transport, and it can be used for weddings, barbecues, trade shows, sporting events, disaster relief, outdoor events. So many possibilities here. We absolutely love it. Again, thank you to COBIZI for sponsoring today's video. As you can see, we are going to put it in its awesome case here that is on wheels and pack it into our U-Haul so we can use it back home. Check out the link in my description for any information you may need, and let's get into the rest of the video. Okay, hi, hello. It is quite a bit later. The yard sale went awesome. We're gonna have another one and maybe even another one after that. I'm super excited. We've never actually had a yard sale as a couple. I did growing up and so did my husband, but it was interesting. It was so helpful to have that tent because wow, Colorado is very unpredictable when it comes to rain. So it was very easy to just take the tent, move it on top of all of our items, and then go from there. So that was really nice for the 20-minute downpour that Colorado decided to give us. But in this video, I wanted to go over some of those items at the grocery store that we were talking about that we could swap out. So I did have a few comments asking for some swaps. And if you're new here, I am on a wellness journey, a health journey, and it was my goal, a while ago to start this, but I really started implementing some swaps at the grocery store and in in my, personal life that has really been helping me become a better person mentally, physically. And when you are those two things, I feel like you're better prepared. So this is preparedness in a different way. And we talk about that a lot on the channel, because in order for myself to stay positive on this journey, I need to feel my best self mentally and physically. So if that makes sense, if you're following me, just stay tuned, because we have a few things to talk about. So I said in a few videos ago that I started swapping out things in the grocery store, and I had a lot of questions, and that just gave me some comments asking me, hey Tori, I usually buy this in the grocery store, is there a better option? So there's a lot to say about that. I have to make a ton of disclaimers here, because someone is going to be personally offended, and that is my first item on the agenda. I am no way shaming the way that you buy groceries, the way that you consume, the way that you feed your family. Just know that I have good intentions about this, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. Number 2 on the list, I'm not going to be perfect here. There's no way that I can remember every single thing that I've swapped out. So if I forget something, kindly just talk about it in the comments. We don't need to be accusatory, and we certainly don't need to have a negative tone. So just be kind. Number 3 on my list, you don't have to do what I do. I have just been consuming information about all of these swaps, and I decided to try them out, and I feel better. So I speak from experience. I'm no doctor. I'm no person that works in the economy. I am a consumer though, and I'm just a person. So hopefully this is relatable, and take what I say with a grain of salt. If it doesn't make sense to you, do some research from your trusted sources. I can't speak for you. This is very individual, but at the same time, I feel like we all have this common ground, and that is our food source, our food security, and how it's kind of being tampered with. And there are some ways to fight back against this. And then, of course, I'm sure I'm going to forget something, but I did write some items down. If I have forgotten any of what you have asked, just drop it in the comments and I can type it out for you. But I'm going to start on, a common item that we buy in the grocery store. And then I'm going to give you an alternative. Of course, I'm keeping budget in mind, and I'm keeping a variety of stores in mind. So I may mention Walmart in this video. I know a lot of you, myself included, don't really shop at Walmart anymore. And maybe you really haven't, but there are a strong majority that's the only option. And, I'm going to include some of those items as well. And then last disclaimer, of course, everything in my kitchen is not made from scratch. I try and do it. So, a lot of these items will be better for you if you make them from scratch, but I'm trying to be realistic with my audience. So I am on a path of wellness. It took me quitting my job, coming home, and having another child to have this clarity. So it takes a lot of sacrifice to, shop the way that we shop, and we're not perfect. And I know a lot of you aren't either. I truly don't think there is anyone out there that is perfect. So do your best, give yourself some grace, and remain positive. Number 1 on the list, bread. I love making our own bread. Realistically, can I be making as much bread as we consume? Probably not, but under this little umbrella goes with tortillas and crackers, anything made of flour essentially. So start at the source, flour. If you can get unenriched organic flour, you're golden. You should be just fine. I would stay away from bleached flour, and I would stay away from enriched flour. A lot of us cannot properly digest that flour. I talk about the gene mutation that my son and I, have looked into, and it's the MTHFR, and you can do a blood sample, you could do a hair tissue analysis, you can do a swab test on your own to figure out some of these ailments that you may have. Just figure out your body a little more on a scientific biological way. So I suggest doing that. Bread, again, it's going to be organic. I'm going to say that a lot. I know a lot of you can't relate to that, but that's how we shop, and I think it's really important for everyone to shop organic when they can. But when it comes to bread, you really should not be seeing a lot of ingredients. Of course, there is going to be, the occasional seed oil, and I say occasional with a huge joke in my heart because it's everywhere. I would suggest looking for a bread that is just water, yeast, salt, and that's about it. Some sort of fat, I'll allow, but I would suggest looking into that. So if you find something organic, I would say that's 10 times better than finding, your conventional bread that has a ton of ingredients. So bread, look for organic, look for unenriched, and look for unbleached. Next on my list is cheese, and this has been very hard to make the shift to because organic raw cheese is super, super expensive. A lot of us don't have access to raw cheese. There are some things being introduced in 2024 that kind of bends the rules for a lot of states when it comes to raw dairy, and I know a lot of people are afraid of that, but look into why the FDA started regulating raw milk, and look into what it can do for you and your body. A lot of us have been told that we're lactose intolerant, or maybe we have a casein allergy. I have someone very close to me that just can't digest it. That would be an exception. You have to look into what is good for yourself. So milk, I try and get it raw, and I try and get it locally. Currently, we are sitting at $21 a gallon for raw milk in a local milk share, and there are plenty around Colorado. So if you don't have a source of dairy, i.e. a goat or a cow, you're going to turn to raw milk. And if that's too expensive for you, like myself and my family, I would next go to a local dairy. We are doing that currently, and that is A2 milk, and that's been really helpful for my family. I typically don't drink a glass of milk. My kids do. There's a lot of calcium and nutrients in there. It has to be individual to your family. So it does not cost us a lot to get those gallons of milk just because we don't drink it a lot, and I typically am not cooking with it. I will put it in the occasional mac and cheese, but my kids don't really eat cereal. Sometimes I put it in homemade bread. Milk isn't going to break the bank, if that makes sense. So I would suggest looking into a local dairy, and if that is not available to you, go ahead and find an organic variety at your generic grocery store. Some of us don't have Whole Foods or Natural Grocers or some of those ritzier grocery stores that offer you a variety. So look into finding something organic and look into the practices of that company. Right now, I can go to King Soopers and get the Simple Truth organic milk, but you have to do some research into where that's coming from. So milk, everyone is buying that on the list, and those are my 3 tiers. So raw milk, local milk, then organic milk. Next on my list is going to be meat. Meat is a tricky one right now. Holy cow. I have always tried to stay away from meat. I am relatively new to the meat world. Backstory, I grew up in a hunting family. We consumed meat. I started not eating it, and then I went into a more pescatarian diet because my dad's a fisherman, and I felt awful not eating the salmon that he brought home. That's a story for a different day. And then through college, I was vegetarian, vegan, then plant-based, and I did a lot of harm to my body. I know it works for some people though, so if you don't consume meat, no need to drop it in the comments. You are good to skip ahead if you need to, but when it comes to meat, we try and do local meat, but we barter a lot. We have a lot of friends that hunt, and that helps us because we kept chickens and ducks for a while there, and we would just trade that for game meat like elk and bison. There's moose out here. There's so many options. If you don't have access to that, that's going to lead you to the grocery store, and I always suggest game meat. Some people really say that they can taste this different, so if it's not your cup of tea, it's not. But I'm going to go into grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and there's a hot argument going on right now about that being a complete marketing tool, and I can see where people are coming from, but out here in Colorado, we have a thing called feedlots. I didn't know what it was until I encountered acres and acres of land with livestock on it. There was no grass in sight. It is literally a lot, and these cows are fed grain feed, GMO feed, and a lot of soy, and are given antibiotics and some really questionable vaccines and things like that. And then they are shipped off and processed and then given to the people, so they don't see grass. They're not grass fed, and it's not finished off in the process. So I really don't understand that divide. I don't understand that argument. Perhaps someone could explain it to me in the comments, but when we can, we get grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I have seen a significant difference in eating that type of meat. It literally only took me a month to see a difference, and that was like months after I started eating meat. So I really encourage everyone to look into their meat sources. And if you can find it on sale, I would suggest doing that. Costco has a great variety, but they're not perfect. So that's a good one for red meat. When it comes to chicken, that is tricky too. I don't consume a lot of chicken, but when I do, I try and do natural, cage-free, organic. A lot of these terms are just that, terms, marketing terms, but when it comes to meat, they mean something. So cage-free, free range, things of that nature, not the same, but when you are looking into chicken, organic is a big one for me. So again, I go for local, but if you are at the grocery store, organic, free range is the way to go. And then on that subject, eggs, if you're looking for eggs, I would go organic, cage-free, and whatnot. I usually buy a larger raw whole chicken and then roast it. That way I have the drippings and the broth, and then I have the chicken itself, and then we have the bones for other uses. So you can do that, or you could just, get it pre-cut if you wanted to go that route. But again, we don't consume a lot of chicken, so we get one maybe twice a month, once a month, and then we go from there. Another one on this list is going to be pork. We don't consume a lot of pork. I have done a deep dive into parasites, and that is a very parasitic meat. And with pork, if you're not raising your own, this is kind of a cut and dry thing. You're not really getting an incredible quality. So we don't really eat too much of it, but again, we're not perfect. And then the third thing I wanted to go off of in the meat category is going to be fish. Of course, I've forgotten a lot of different meats, but do your research essentially is what I'm trying to say. Just try and get to the source and figure out what they're feeding that meat, how they're being raised, any environmental toxins that may come into contact with them, and then go from there. Fish. Wild caught all the way. But of course, that's not perfect either. If you see farm raised, run. That is a chemical, toxin-ridden fish, and you don't want it in your body regardless. I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't had a few farm raised fish in, the last year even, but I would suggest getting wild caught. Simple Truth, King Soopers, Kroger brand, they do have a good quality there. And then also Walmart has a good wild caught whitefish. I think they call it flashing. Sometimes they have cod. That's a good one to look into. Of course, if you fish, that might be a good thing to look into, processing, harvesting, and keeping it for yourself for a rainy day. Next up is butter. Butter's a big one. I do grass-fed, grass-finished for the same reasons of the meat, and there's a variety of reasons. I'm not really going to get into that, but if you can find grass-fed, grass-finished, that's awesome. We get ours from Costco. I have heard Kerrygold has had some issues lately, so look into that. But these are sources that I also take with a grain of salt, because I don't know any better. I can only trust these people that I'm getting my information from, so far. So grass-fed, grass-finished butter. The store brands have them as well. Simple Truth makes a good one, but I've been making my own lately with the local dairy heavy cream, and that's been really tasty. Next on this list is going to be oil. I would suggest staying away from the seed oils. They're highly inflammatory. They don't make you feel good. If you're going to cut anything out of your diet, start with that, because you're going to see a difference within a week. I did not feel sluggish. Of course, I'm exhausted. I'm a mom of 3, and I'm just busy. So I don't feel completely 100% different, but cut out seed oils for a week and come back to me and tell me if you don't see a difference, because I'd love to chat with you about other things in your diet that may be making you feel like garbage. But seed oils is a great one to cut out. So a lot of people ask, what should I cook with instead? And I always suggest finding some sort of fat like ghee. Save your bacon drippings. You could use, just your regular old butter if you wanted to, but a lot of people enjoy their oils. They're easy, they're shelf stable. I get that. So avocado oil is typically what I go for, or coconut oil. Of course, those aren't perfect. If you can find olive oil that is not a blend, that's maybe from just Italy or just one place, that is great. Sometimes you can even find them at Marshall's or TJ Maxx or something like that. So that's a good place to start, but Costco does have a good variety as well. Next up on the list, someone asked about granola bars. I, of course, love to make granola bars from scratch, but you have to be careful with them. We used to get the organic Cliff bars, and even that, if you look at the sugar count and it is over, 2 grams, then perhaps stay away from it. I know that sounds extreme. We just have not really done a lot of granola bars lately. There's going to be enriched flours in there. There's also going to be a lot of different oils. Some granola bars that my kids used to love had dark chocolate in it, but when it comes to dark chocolate, you might have some soy lecithin in there, which is really not good. They're gonna have rancid like nut butters in there, so I would suggest finding something that is just a few ingredients. There's one in the refrigerated section. Perfect bars might be a good place to start looking. They're usually in the refrigerated section, but you can make those pretty easily. Just type in DIY perfect bars and then go from there. But always look at those ingredients. Cliff bars, Luna bars, all of those bars are really hard because it is a small bar and you have to look at all of the ingredients. I have Cliff bars in our bug out bags right now just because they pack a punch with calories. Built bars also, I have those in there. You need those calories in an emergency situation, and they also have some good protein. So that's the toss up. It depends on how you're keeping it in your home. If you're bringing it in weekly for weekly consumption, I would suggest looking into perfect bars or making them on your own. I'm sorry if that is not helpful, but I just have not found a good granola bar. Drop in the comments if you have found one. That would be helpful, right? Okay, next up on the list when it comes to granola bars, I'm going for air conditioning is kicking on. I'm going for protein, and I'm doing this just for my husband. I use protein powder sometimes, but he goes to the gym pretty frequently, and he has started switching his protein. So he's looking for simple ingredients. If he's using any type of dairy in there, he's looking for grass-fed, grass-finished, but what he stays away from is a whey concentrate, and I think he looks for a whey isolate. But again, I'm not very well versed in there. I wanted to include it though because it is part of our monthly grocery order. So protein powders, if you have any, let me know. My favorite is from Amari because it's just really great ingredients. I will link it down in the description box. I do get a kickback commission from that if you do purchase, but if you have any from the grocery store, that might be a good one to drop in the comments, because right now I am liking just ingredients, but you know, there are a lot out there on the market. Next up is going to be energy drinks. A lot of people drink energy drinks. It's never really been my thing, but I drink coffee and tea, and I get my caffeine from that way. Like I never was like a Red Bull girl or a Monster Energy. I just don't like the flavor of that, and there's a lot of issues with energy drinks. There's a lot of things that you need to look into. Ingredients that off the top of my head really strike a pause with me is going to be cyanocobalamin, and that can mess up your system. So if you have questions about that, drop them in the comments and I'll type it out. I could make a whole video on it, so I'm not going to get into that, but energy drinks, not really great for you. I would suggest looking for something natural like green tea or any of the supplements from Amari that I take. I say that just because I've used them pretty consistently and I've seen a difference, but of course there are a lot on the market once again. I'm gonna put alcohol in here. I know that may strike a pause with some of you in the budget and health and wellness, but a lot of us do consume alcohol. So if you are consuming alcohol, I would suggest looking for something organic, like an organic red wine. I would suggest looking for something low in sugar or zero sugar, and I would suggest looking into the actual ingredients. I currently love Upslope Snow Melt, and it comes from a brewery and they have electrolytes in it. So it's like a, what is it called? It's kind of like a White Claw, but healthier for you, although that's laughable because alcohol is really not healthy for you, but I wanted to bring that in there. And if you are a hard liquor drinker, I would suggest finding some sort of organic tequila. I feel like that is the best for you, but who knows? I did want to include that on the list just to be real with you, because I consume alcohol. I'm not perfect, and that is a toxin I allow into my system along with coffee, and that is going to be the next category here, coffee and tea. Always look for organic. Coffee and tea tea are notorious for having weird amounts of mold in it, like high amounts of mold, and it's just because of the actual plant that they're getting it from, but the process, and then the shipment, and there's just so many things that go into coffee and tea. If you can find it organic, then go for it, because there's a lot on the market out there that's super cheap. Costco makes a great variety. The Wellness Box, if you're signed up for them, they have a good organic coffee. And tea you could easily grow in a windowsill, so look into that. Next on the list is rice. I always suggest doing unenriched organic rice. There is a brand called, I always want to call it Maserati. It's not called that, but they make a great rice, and it's under $3, so you really can't beat that. I know rice is notorious for being pretty cheap. If you can sacrifice a little bit of your paycheck for your health, I would suggest starting with those cheaper items. Next on the list is going to be pasta. Again, unenriched organic. That's the best bet, or make it yourself. Next on the list is going to be sauce. So I'm thinking of like tomato sauces, and the two big things that strike me in those sauces are going to be the sugar content and the seed oils. So I used to love Rouse, but they have since switched ownership. So I've been looking around. I still have my harvest from 2 years ago. So we've been using a lot of homemade sauce, but if you're looking into something, look for an organic variety. Again, Costco, they have a good one. They have a 3-pack for under $10, I believe, and it tastes pretty good. I think it has some sort of like cinnamon or nutmeg in it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I taste something in that sauce. I'm seeing my time here, and I'm trying my best to wrap it up, but there's a lot on this list, and I tried to keep it pretty basic. So if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate every one of you. Veggies and fruits, always go for organic, or you can look into the Dirty Dozen. If you can't afford organic vegetables, always look for something on sale. Go to your local farms and chat with them about their farming practices. There's a lot of fruits and veggies you can grow in your backyard. If you don't have a backyard, there's a lot of fruits and veggies you can grow inside, on your windowsill, really anywhere. I've seen like a car gardener recently, which is wild to me. That's amazing. We as a society, I don't give us a lot of credit, but we have a wide range of knowledge. So that's incredible. Again, veggies and fruits, I feel like pesticides are pretty well known by now, but a lot of us don't know about it. And glyphosate is a big deal. A lot of us have ailments because of this chemical, and I feel like it's hard to keep talking about it, because from what I've gathered, people get very offended by the knowledge that they have being contradicted, and I myself am like that, but I've been trying to be open-minded, and when I'm presented with new information that may be more factual, I change my mind, and it's really hard to do that with my personality, but if I can do it, anybody can do that. So again, some of these things that I'm saying may offend you or may make you take pause, but just please do your own research. Glyphosate is a big one though, and there's a lot of available information on that. So when it comes to fruits and vegetables, there is that Dirty Dozen like I was talking about, and the Dirty Dozen is the biggest amounts of pesticides being sprayed on those crops. And at the end of the day, it's driven by money, but unfortunately these farms are kind of backed into a corner, and these farmers don't really have a choice at this point. It's way too expensive to have an organic farm, to filter that water, to have good soil, to have good air quality. Honestly, there's so many factors that go into it. So I never say this to shame any farms. I'm friends with a lot of farmers, probably majority of my friend group, so I never say this to downplay what they do for this world, but at the end of the day, there's a lot that we're up against, and trying to get organic is difficult. So I understand that, and I did want to make that disclaimer. Crackers, we talked about, really unenriched. Simple Mills makes a great product, and they have a good quality cracker box at Costco right now, or Kroger has a good one. I know Walmart carries it. If you do Target, they carry it as well. And then chips, stay away from your seed oils. Jackson's sweet potato chips, they're relatively okay. I'm a chip girl, I love it. It's not something I can give up. So if you're not making it yourself, stay away from the seed oils and just look into those flavorings. The barbecue flavors have a lot of MSG and preservatives. Some of them even have some really debated chemicals, like Doritos are banned in other countries. So yeah, a lot to look into, but stay with your basic ingredients: potatoes, salt, and some sort of good oil, or maybe a baked chip might be an option. Talked about flour. Sugar is going to be a pretty easy one for me. We like to use coconut sugar or some sort of organic cane sugar. If you didn't know, when I was plant-based, I didn't know this, but they filter sugar through bone char, so that is why a lot of sugar isn't labeled vegan. And right there, that's when I started doing a deep dive into some of those shelf-stable baking items and how they're processed, how they are packaged, and how they're shipped, because a lot of those practices are very strange to me. So if you're not milling your own flour, I'm not really doing that quite often. If you're not doing your own sugar, look into an organic, natural option. 3 more on the list. The next one is going to be seasonings. Always look for organic seasonings, but again, that's an easy one to go in your windowsill, grow some seasonings, dry them out, and then have them in bulk for the year. It's really great. I love making my own seasonings. It saved me a ton of money. If you've looked into organic seasonings, I believe I looked into my classic dill seasoning in the grocery aisle the other week, and it was $11, which is insanity. So grow your own. Next on my list is going to be ice cream. That one I haven't mastered. I'm not really good at making ice cream. I've done it. It tastes great, but it takes a long time. It's a big process. So ice cream, that is tricky to find at a budget price, but we really enjoy ice cream that just basically has eggs, cream, vanilla, your basic ingredients, but that's really hard to find as well. So if you're looking into some sort of ice cream, again, just keep the list to maybe like 5 ingredients. I do not have a brand for you. If you have any, please drop them in the comment box. And then last on my list is going to be peanut butter, nut butters, things of that nature. So I would suggest looking for something organic. I would suggest even looking into something like almond butter, but a lot of those nuts, they go rancid pretty easily, and a lot of them are processed with some strange oils and some strange additives. So just look for basically salt and the nut, or just the nut grinded down. Also, this is very easy to make on your own as well. You don't even need a high-speed blender. I've done it in my food processor. So that is the end of the list. I tried my best to keep this short. If you have any other questions, any swaps that you're interested in, please let me know in the comments below. I do apologize if I forgot your comment in the video when I asked for comments. I tried my best to look through them, and I tried my best to write them down, but I could be missing some. So again, drop them in the comments if you have any questions. I so appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Again, go ahead and check out that Amazon link in my description box below. It's an incredible 10. I think it's amazing, and it's at an affordable price. So I will catch you on the next one. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative. Bye, y'all.